Welcome to r/Am I the Jerk, where Karen keeps stealing lunches at work and really ends up regretting it. Am I the jerk for ghost saucing my coworker who always steals my lunch? I, 30 female, have this coworker, Michelle, who's also 30, who's been stealing people's lunch from the office fridge for months. At first, I thought it was just an accident, but after I caught her red-handed twice, I realized she was a serial fridge thief. She'd always play dumb when confronted, saying things like, "Oh, I thought it was mine," or "Oops, my bad." Honestly, it was getting old. Every time I brought it up to HR, they'd shrug it off, claiming they couldn't do anything because there was no proof, even though we all knew what was going on. It didn't feel worth escalating any further, so I just let it slide. Until last week. That's when I decided to take matters into my own hands. Now, for context, I really love spicy food, like ghost pepper level spicy food. My friends joke that I've got a stomach of steel, but I know the average person would be wiped out by eating something as hot as ghost pepper sauce. So I figured, why not give Michelle a taste of her own medicine? I went ahead and made myself a lovely lunch, some pasta with a very special, very potent ghost pepper sauce. I'm talking the kind that could melt your face off if you're not ready for it. I very clearly labeled the container with my name, just in case anyone needed a reminder. I wanted to make sure it was very, very clear who it belonged to. Then I carefully placed it in the fridge, thinking, let's see if Michelle is dumb enough to take this one. Sure enough, within the hour, I could hear her coughing from the other side of the office. Her face was practically red, and she was downing water like it was going out of style. A few minutes later, she stormed over to my desk, fuming, "Why would you bring hazardous food to work?" She yelled, looking like she had just experienced a minor brush with death. "What kind of person tries to hurt someone like that?" I just calmly looked at her and said, "It's my lunch. It's clearly labeled with my name. So why did you eat it if you knew it wasn't yours?" She stared at me for a second, probably wondering how she had managed to get herself into this mess, then muttered something about not being able to resist, but I could tell she wasn't too pleased. She had definitely learned her lesson. Now some of our coworkers are calling me petty, saying I overreacted and that Michelle was just joking when she took my food. Apparently, I'm the villain for giving her a little spice-induced lesson in personal boundaries. A few of the others, however, are definitely on my side, saying she deserved it. And honestly, after the way she had been stealing from everyone for months, I was starting to feel pretty justified. She hasn't touched anyone's food since that incident, and I think we can all agree that she got the message loud and clear. HR, of course, sent out one of those generic emails about fridge etiquette, but they still haven't directly addressed Michelle or her behavior. I'm guessing they didn't want to make it seem like they were endorsing my spicy revenge. But you know what? I'm pretty sure she's learned her lesson. She's been giving me dirty looks ever since, and now she avoids me at all costs. I'm just waiting for her to try and pull something again, but so far, nothing. So, am I the jerk for giving Michelle the spicy lesson she so clearly needed? Not the jerk. She will never take your lunch again after this. Just make sure you never admit that you did it to set her up. If anyone asks, you just love spicy food, and that's why you made your lunch so spicy. My mother-in-law wanted to exclude my daughter from Thanksgiving and Christmas to protect my sister-in-law. I'm 31, and I'm married to my husband, Tyler, who's 32. I gave birth to our first baby, a girl, almost 3 months ago. I love Tyler deeply, and I've always felt grateful to have married into his family. Growing up, I had a single mom, and it was always just the two of us. While I love my mother dearly, I often wished for a larger family unit with siblings when I was younger. Sadly, my mom passed from ovarian cancer about 2 years ago, and now I truly don't have family apart from my in-laws. By contrast, Tyler's parents are happily married, and he's one of 4 kids. His family has always been kind and welcoming to me. I've always enjoyed spending time with them at holidays and family reunions. However, the only exception is Tyler's twin sister, Ashley. Since I first met Ashley, she's been cold and standoffish towards me, especially compared to her friendly younger brothers and parents. She's never been outright rude or mean, but she's also never put much effort into getting to know me or asking me questions. I know she has had some resentment toward Tyler and often comments that he is the favorite or that everything comes easily to him. Some of her remarks bother me because I know how hard Tyler has worked for his success. I also see that he has struggles he doesn't share with the family because he doesn't want to burden anyone. Even though her comments irk me, I've never addressed them because Tyler has accepted that's just the way she is and he doesn't let it bother him. Although Ashley and I are far from being close, I felt sad for her after learning she's been struggling to get pregnant. She and her husband have been trying for about 2 years and she recently experienced losing one. I'm trying to be mindful of what she's going through and have intentionally avoided talking about my pregnancy or our baby around her. I even declined my mother-in-law's offer to throw me a baby shower because I thought it might be too painful for Ashley. With that said, Tyler's family is incredibly excited about our daughter. Since Tyler is the first of his siblings to have a baby, it's an exciting time and transition for everyone. Yesterday, Tyler's parents came over for dinner. My mother-in-law mentioned that she had something difficult to discuss with us. She began by saying how hard the last few years have been for Ashley. She explained that while Ashley is excited for us, it's been difficult for her to see me with an infant when she's wanted to be a mother for so long. My mother-in-law went on to say that Ashley is dreading the upcoming holidays because she's worried everyone will focus on us and fuss over the new baby. She said she's been trying to consider Ashley's feelings and suggested that Tyler and I sit out Thanksgiving and Christmas this year. She even proposed that we hire a sitter for our daughter so the baby wouldn't be the center of attention. If that wasn't possible, she floated the idea of me staying home with the baby while Tyler stopped by briefly to say hello. My husband was livid. He immediately said that if Ashley can't manage her emotions, she should be the one to stay home. My mother-in-law responded by saying that Ashley is going through a lot right now and needs the support of her family. Tyler firmly stated that he would not celebrate the holidays with them unless both the baby and I were included. Hearing this conversation made me emotional and I started crying, which shocked everyone. I rarely show emotion in front of others, but I couldn't help myself. I told them that while I feel terrible for Ashley, I'm heartbroken and disappointed that our daughter is being excluded. I explained that I don't have any family now that my mother is gone, so it's especially important to me that my child develops a strong bond with her grandparents, uncles, and aunt. I also told my mother-in-law that her suggestion made me feel unwelcome and undervalued in the family. I said it was hurtful to realize how easily she could suggest excluding both me and my daughter. I acknowledged that Ashley is her daughter and that her loyalty will always be to her first, but it still hurt deeply to feel so dismissed. My mother-in-law began to backtrack, saying she loves me and our daughter very much and now realizes this wasn't the right way to handle the situation. She admitted she hadn't thought things through enough. Despite her apology, Tyler was still furious. He asked his parents to leave, even though his mom was crying and begging to work things out. Today, I've received several calls from my mother-in-law, but I haven't been able to bring myself to answer them yet. I know I should hear her out, but I'm still so hurt by everything that happened. Tyler is just as upset and doesn't want to participate in the holidays this year. Maybe I'm being selfish under the circumstances, but I can't believe how easily they could suggest excluding my baby. It feels like they don't truly see us as an important part of the family. Am I the jerk? Not the jerk. What were mother-in-law and father-in-law's plans if Ashley is never able to have a baby? Leave you out until your child is an adult? It's sad that she hasn't been able to get pregnant, but that shouldn't mean that you and your child are treated any differently. Get a sitter for a 3-month-old? No way. What if Ashley can never get pregnant? You and your daughter are just excluded forever? At least your husband stood up for you. Not the jerk. Am I the jerk because I canceled a Christmas trip to Disney for my girlfriend's kids? Ashley and I have been together for 3 years. She has 2 kids who are 9 and 12, and I get along well with them. They're good kids, polite and respectful. While I'm not their dad, my parents have embraced them as part of the family and have always given them gifts for Christmas and their birthdays. This year, I had a great financial year, so I decided to treat Ashley and the kids to a special trip to Disney World over Christmas. We discussed the plan and everything seemed settled. But then her ex got involved. He wanted to come along with his wife and their kid pitching in to join the trip. Personally, I wasn't thrilled about the idea of sharing what I saw as our first family holiday with him and his family. I told Ashley I'd prefer it just be us, but she said her ex really wanted to be there for the kids' first trip to Disney. After some arguing, I reluctantly gave in. Then the logistics started to change. Her ex couldn't afford to stay where we originally planned, the Grand Floridian, so Ashley and her ex decided we should move to a cheaper hotel to accommodate his budget. Fine. I wasn't thrilled, but agreed to downgrade to a good neighbor hotel in Disney Springs. It's still nice and offers perks like early entrance and character events. But then I learned what their real plan was. They expected me to cancel our Grand Floridian reservation and use that money to pay for an additional suite for him and his family at the cheaper hotel. His contribution? Covering the flights for his wife and kid. That was it. I was furious and said, absolutely not. Ashley argued that the kids really wanted their dad there. I said he was more than welcome to take them himself if it meant so much to him. She called me cheap, pointing out that I could afford to do this. While it's true that I can afford it, that wasn't the point. I don't want to fund this man's family vacation, especially when this trip was meant to be my treat for her and the kids. We had a massive argument. In the end, I canceled the flights and hotel reservations and gave Ashley the tickets for her and the kids to go without me. I was done. Now she's furious, claiming she spent a lot of time and money getting the kids' passports and luggage in preparation for the trip. I told her to let me know what those costs were and I'd reimburse her. Her ex even had the nerve to call me, accusing me of being a jerk and upsetting the kids. I shot back, saying it probably hurt them more when he left their mom to have a kid with another woman. I'm still standing firm, but I'm wondering if I handled this wrong. Maybe an outside perspective would help. For the record, her ex is a manipulative jerk. He tries so hard to control her constantly, and I'm honestly sick of it. Not the jerk. He wants you to pay for his hotel by downgrading yours? Did he expect you to pay for the passes too? What a leech. Your girlfriend, not wife, expects you to pay for her ex-husband and his affair partner and their kids to fly to the US, pay for their hotel and resort tickets? She must be out of her mind. Not the jerk. Am I the jerk for not letting my grandmother stay with me after she let me stay with her during the hurricane? I, 31 female, stayed with my grandmother who's 76 during Hurricane Milton because my home was directly in the hurricane's path. For context, I don't make much money and I rent a very small mother-in-law suite from her. The space is tiny. It only has 2 interior doors, one to the bathroom and one to the closet. Everything else is open and accessible. This is important for what happened. My grandmother adores her 2 boxers who are fully grown, hyper, smart, and destructive. Meanwhile, I own over $6,000 worth of work equipment and a lot of sentimental items from my long-distance partner that are irreplaceable. When my grandmother comes to visit, she likes to stay the night because long drives, she lives nearly 2 hours away, are getting harder for her. I allow her to stay because she's done a lot for me, but I have one rule. Her dogs must stay at home with a sitter. She has a sitter and uses them often for trips, so this isn't a new arrangement. Her dogs cause chaos in my small space. They chew on everything, try to break into barricaded areas, again, no doors, and constantly lick or jump on me. The last time they stayed, it led to a huge fight because I couldn't keep them from destroying my things. After that, I set the rule, no dogs. She says I'm being unfair by forcing her to choose between me and her dogs. She insists that they help her feel safe and relaxed. Her argument is that most of the time when she visits, it's for my benefit, like during hurricane evacuations or family vacations, and I should be more accommodating since I don't drive because of PTSD. She also thinks dog-proofing my place is no big deal and even suggested it would force me to clean better. She has OCD. I've offered to pay for the sitter myself, but she ignores the suggestion. I know my grandmother does a lot for me and I appreciate her, but I cannot handle the stress her dogs bring into my space. My home is tiny, and I shouldn't have to completely rearrange it every time she visits, especially since I work from home and I need to access my things. I'd rather cancel the vacation we're planning than let her dog stay for even one night because I know it will end in disaster. Update. I recently had a serious talk with my grandmother. We agreed to book her a hotel whenever she visits and needs to stay overnight. Yes, I'll be paying for it, but this arrangement works for both of us. During our talk, she admitted that she was hoping to stay longer during her visits for personal reasons, but didn't want to bring her RV or impose on me. She realized that my hard no to her dog staying meant she couldn't ask for just one more day either. Hopefully this solution will help us avoid future tension. You're the jerk. Everything is always about you. Your grandmother rents you a house, likely below market rate. She does all the driving to see you. She shelters you when you need it, and you can't figure out a way to put your valuables in the closet the few times she visits. Come on. If you were independent, paid for yourself, drove half the time, did some caring for her, it would absolutely be reasonable to draw a line at the dog hosting. But this isn't the case, and your grandmother does a lot more for you than you do for her. Can't you find a way to do this one thing for her? You mentioned you offered to pay for a pet sitter. Why not instead use that cash to buy a storage container to put the valuables in so your grandmother can visit? Right. What is wrong with people? Family owes me everything, and I owe nothing to anyone that would inconvenience me in any way. Seems to be the new way of thinking. The force of me is strong with this one. Untrained, huge dogs are not a small request. If they were trained well, maybe you could make this case, but expecting her to manage with 2 wild, huge dogs in her space is unreasonable. Not the jerk, but just remember, the next time you need a place to stay, your grandmother will not be the jerk for saying no to you. If your grandma has ideas for dog-proofing your home, maybe try hearing her out. I am completely heartbroken. My husband just told me he booked a flight to visit his best friends and go golfing in a few weeks. He didn't talk to me about the dates or even mention his plans before booking. We've been together for almost 21 years and married for 15. Our anniversary is next week. He's never done anything like this before. For context, he's incredibly cheap. We haven't gone away for a single night in years, not even with the kids. I wanted to buy Disney tickets this summer, but he said no. No matter what I spend, he always has an issue with it. Every time I go grocery shopping, he complains about how much I spend, even though I stay well within the budget. The last time we went out to eat was back in November last year, and that was with our 13-year-old. I've asked so many times to go out for dinners or just do something together, but it never happens. Recently, during an argument, I brought it up again. He said he doesn't like going out to eat, so why would he do it? He told me I should consider the time we spend on weekends cleaning the house and doing yard work as spending time together. I don't work, and I don't have friends or family nearby. I feel like this trip was the final straw. I feel neglected. He insists that's not the case, but his actions say otherwise. He has an unhealthy relationship with money and is always stressing over it. We don't struggle financially and live comfortably, but he was laid off years ago. It took him about 9 months to find work again, and since then, he's been overly controlling and anxious about money. He stresses over spending $5 to rent a movie and balks at the idea of paying $8 a month for a movie subscription service. Our oldest daughter, who is 24 now, has told me how much anxiety his obsession with money caused her growing up. She's always worried about running out of money because of him. Her counselor back then told him to stop talking about money so much because it was hurting her, but he couldn't stop. Our youngest daughter, who's 13, has struggled with anxiety and depression since lockdown. She's incredibly smart, but has no drive or ambition. She misses too much school, never does her homework, and lies about it. It's an absolute nightmare trying to manage that stress. I'm the one who shoulders most of the burden because my husband works 60 hours a week. Last May, I was so stressed trying to ensure our daughter passed 7th grade that I lost 20 pounds. I never get a break. Last spring, I even wrote him a 13-page letter explaining how I needed more from him, more quality time, more effort, and a chance to recharge once in a while. He admitted he wouldn't want his daughters to marry someone who treats them the way he has treated me. He even said he'd have a real problem with it if our oldest were marrying someone who acted the way he does. He has said hurtful things out of spite over the years. He knows they were wrong and he has apologized, but the damage lingers. I feel like I need to set a better example for my daughters. How can I teach them to expect respect and care from their partners if I stay married to someone who continuously ignores my needs? My heart is breaking into a million pieces right now. I just kicked him out, and I don't know if I made the right decision. Update 1 month later. So about his trip, he was supposed to come home briefly to help with hurricane prep and stay just one night, but as the storm became more serious, he stayed to help me prepare the house and yard. Then we talked about evacuating and even booked a hotel about 3 hours away. However, when the storm shifted south, we decided to stay put. He stayed during the storm and helped afterwards as well. During that time, we did a lot of talking, but despite everything, he refused to cancel the trip. I told him he should be begging for my forgiveness, but it felt like I was the one fighting to save our marriage. He had already taken a similar trip 2 months ago where he went alone, had no responsibilities, and had a lot of fun. He admitted he just wanted to feel that way again. I told him plainly, if he didn't cancel the trip, the marriage was over. I explained that he couldn't have his cake and eat it too. I would never get away with doing something like this, nor would I even try. I don't understand why this trip is so important to him. In response, he started love bombing me and made promises to change. He said he'd start treating me to vacations and date nights. However, this only reminded me of past issues I'd forgiven, yet here he was adding to the pile. He told me I hold on to past grievances, but I don't understand why he'd choose to make things worse when we were already struggling. It's heartbreaking to love someone so much and have them hurt you like this. I don't want my marriage to end, but he told me outright that he would only start putting me first after his trip. Why can't I be stronger and realize there's someone out there who would cherish me and love me the way I deserve? My 13-year-old sent him a text explaining her feelings. She basically told him he chose this trip over his family. He left for the trip on Friday and he's coming back home today. All of his belongings are packed up and in his truck. Most of it he packed himself before leaving on Friday, trying to convince me I was making a bigger deal out of this than necessary. While he was away, I texted his brothers, sister-in-law, and the friend he went to visit. I explained the situation and the circumstances leading up to it. I also mentioned how he spent next to no time on date nights and did absolutely nothing for our 15th anniversary last month. He told me no one took his side, and I wasn't surprised. I told him that no one we know would treat their spouse this way. Now I'm torn about whether to let him stay tonight or not. Heartache like this is unbearable. Edit. I talked to my husband's friends to validate his reasons for the trip and to confirm where he was staying. His best friend even told me if the trip was causing this much trouble, he would come down here instead. That's what his friend said to me directly. My husband admitted to his friend that he booked the trip behind my back. While he was there, he had a heartfelt conversation with his best friend, the friend's wife, and another close friend. None of them took his side. Instead, they gave him advice on how to fix things with me, including ways to improve our relationship and start doing date nights again. These people have known him since he was a teenager, and it's clear they care about both of us. I know for a fact that he isn't cheating. I can see his location at all times through our shared tracking app, and there's nothing suspicious. No strange numbers, no weird calls or texts. Nothing feels off. This doesn't seem like an affair. I think he just wanted the freedom to escape responsibility for a while, to party and have fun with his best friends. Maybe it's a midlife crisis. I don't know. During the trip, he stayed with his best friend's family. I tracked his location the entire time, and there was nothing to make me doubt where he was or who he was with. Am I the jerk for embarrassing my aunt at a baby shower instead of showing tact? My mother and her best friend, Jenny, have known each other since they were kids. While Jenny isn't actually related to us, I still call her Aunt Jenny. Jenny has a daughter, Ellie, who's the same age as me, 16. Unfortunately, Jenny is one of those parents who believes her kid can do no wrong. Here are a few examples of Jenny's attitude over the years. Ellie once stole a hair ribbon from another girl, but Jenny claimed the other girl was lying because she was jealous of Ellie. Ellie got an F in a class for not doing her work, but Jenny insisted the teacher was unfair and jealous of Ellie. I get that bad teachers exist, but for Jenny, every teacher Ellie has ever had is jealous of her. Ellie's older sister, Annie, hasn't spoken to her since moving out. Jenny claims nothing happened and has no idea why Annie refuses to have contact with Ellie. It's obvious something happened, but Jenny seems to be in total denial. My mom has noticed Jenny's behavior too, but she avoids directly confronting her about Ellie. Instead, she usually changes the subject, and Jenny generally picks up on the hint. Recently, my mom and I went to a baby shower where Jenny was also attending. They were talking, and my mom mentioned that I had a camping trip planned with my friends. Jenny started hinting that Ellie should be invited too. Mom, trying to be polite, started to suggest it, but before she could finish, I loudly said, "Oh, no way." Jenny was clearly upset, and on the way home, my mom told me my trip was canceled. By the time we got back though, she had cooled off and decided not to cancel it, but was still mad at me. She said she understood that I don't like Ellie and that she has plenty of issues, but she thought I was disrespectful and had embarrassed Jenny unnecessarily. Mom said I could have declined more politely, for example by saying something like, "Sorry, but we don't have room or supplies for another person," or "My friends aren't comfortable having someone they don't know well join us." I realized I could have been more respectful, but I was trying to stop that idea immediately before it turned into a bigger conversation. It's true I was pretty loud, and we did get some looks, but everyone outside of Jenny and Mom seemed to move on pretty quickly. I feel like my mom is making the embarrassment into a bigger deal than it actually was. So, am I the jerk? Not the jerk. Yeah, it's easy to say you could have been more tactful in hindsight, but you're 16. I can't expect you to always remember to be mindful and tactful, especially in situations like this where you're being pressured. I can easily imagine a 16-year-old overreacting and not being aware of their surroundings. Your mother is the one who turned this into an awkward situation. You were ignoring Jenny's hints rather well until your mom butted into the situation and escalated it. Not only did she not even give you time to come up with a proper excuse, she also added more pressure on you to invite her. My girlfriend is furious with me for not taking all of her daughters shopping. I'm 26, male, and my girlfriend, who's 33, is angry with me. I've been with my girlfriend just over a year, but we've known each other for about 3 years. We have mutual friends. She has 3 daughters who are 10, 13, and 14. The oldest daughter has a different dad than the younger two. While the younger daughter's dad has contact with them and takes them every other weekend, the oldest daughter's dad hasn't been in her life since she was born. She and her daughters moved in with me after 3 months together, which I know might seem like it was too soon, but her housing situation wasn't great. She was living with a friend from work. I don't have any kids of my own, so I don't really know how to be a parent, but I've always tried my best to support my girlfriend in her parenting decisions. 2 days ago, I finished work early, so I picked the girls up from school. They usually take the bus, but I called my girlfriend after I finished work, and she asked me to pick them up. When we got home, I heated up dinner for them, and afterwards I asked them if they wanted to go shopping with me and grab some pizza afterwards. The youngest two didn't want to go. Their friend was coming over, so they decided to stay home, but the oldest daughter wanted to come with me. So I took her to the mall, bought her some clothes, a new phone case, and some other small things. Afterwards, we went to grab pizza. After the pizza, I wanted to drop her off at home. My girlfriend was already back home from work by then, as I needed to go to a rental property of mine to fix up a few things, but she said she wanted to go with me, so we did. She spent most of the time on her phone, and she tried on some of the clothes she bought and showed me. We came home around 9 p.m., and that's when the fight broke out. My girlfriend was really angry at me for only taking the oldest daughter and not her other two. So I explained the situation about their friend coming over and that they didn't want to go with me. But she claimed I was favoring the eldest, which isn't true, as I wanted to take all three of them. We had a huge fight about it. It was our first serious fight. The oldest daughter stepped in my defense, but that didn't help. Since then, my girlfriend has been cold to me. I offered to take all three of them together another time, but she said she doesn't want my pity, and I don't really know how to fix things between us. Your girlfriend is being ridiculous and taking advantage of you. I agree. You sound like a truly awesome guy, and she has no clue how rare you are. You are not at fault, and the other two didn't want to go, and they had company coming over. You can take them separately, which is needed for multiple kids, so they get that one-on-one time with parents. She's being ridiculous. Don't back down from this when she engages about it. I would simply state, I'm sorry you don't see the true good intent in actions here, but I did exactly as any good adult or parent would in this situation on that day, and I will discuss this no further. And don't. She brings it up again, walk away. This kind of crap is why you don't move someone in after only 3 months. At only 3 months into a relationship, you shouldn't even have met her kids yet, let alone let them move into your home. A crappy home situation is not a good reason to move a girlfriend and her kids into your house. Buddy, you need to get out of this relationship as soon as possible. This woman will ruin your life if you stick around. Find the courage to leave and never look back. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or his girlfriend? Please let us know. The things some people do for love. My fiance, 37 male, made me, 26 female, get plastic surgery just to get engaged. Now I want to call off the wedding. We've been engaged for 6 months now, and we're going to get married next spring. Our relationship has not been easy, and we dated for 2 years before getting engaged, and he broke up with me once in between for 5 months. Right now, I'm so conflicted. There was a time I was so eager to be engaged to him, and now I'm lost. First off, I kind of had to give an ultimatum to get engaged, to which he responded he has not proposed all this time because of something in my looks that he's not attracted to. He asked me to get a specific plastic surgery to correct this issue and that he would pay for it, and only then he's willing to get engaged. So I went ahead and got the surgery. Anyways, we get engaged, and I can still tell he's not that attracted to me because the surgery didn't really make a big difference. Doesn't compliment me, doesn't really touch me or initiate things with me. He doesn't complain or bash my looks, but doesn't rave about it either. But this isn't the worst of it. I'm currently in grad school, and he works full-time and makes over $500,000 a year. He's paying for the wedding, and he's rubbed it in my face on 2 occasions how I contribute nothing, and that I basically never have the right to complain about anything ever because he works so hard to pay for things. I complained once that I feel we don't spend enough quality time together. I just don't know if I'm making a huge mistake getting married to him. I don't want to be miserable. I'm so anxious. I don't feel like he loves me. He pushes me away when he's having a bad day and doesn't talk to me. I just feel kind of neglected in the relationship, but I also don't want to be a victim and consider maybe he's right about some things. Breaking an engagement off is so embarrassing, and this would be his second broken engagement, and I don't want to do that to him. I just feel really lost. How do I go about this? Edit. The surgery I got was liposuction on my legs from thighs to ankles. I've always carried weight in my lower body. He says financially successful men don't like that look. Also, to those that ask what good qualities he has, I initially thought he was very kind, helps the poor, and goes on medical mission trips. He's a doctor. He is funny, and we actually get along really well when things are good. And I love his parents so much, and I really feel for them. They're older, and they want grandkids, and they want to see their son get married. I don't think they realize how mean he can be. I'm not going to pretend his money is not appealing. I didn't grow up with a lot of money, and I watched my parents struggle as immigrants. I always wanted to make sure my kids will grow up in a financially stable environment. It's not really gold digging because I'm not a materialistic person. I don't care for expensive things, just don't want to struggle like my parents did. To those who think I can get a prenup or divorce, our culture and community is very strict. I probably should have mentioned we are Middle Eastern. We don't get divorced. It's not an option here. He ended his first engagement, not her. He said she became too obsessed with the wedding planning and felt like a different personality of her had come out after she had secured the ring. Update. We broke up today. 48 hours after my initial post and over 1,000 people begging me not to get married, the wedding is off. This is how it went. He picked me up because we had our engagement photo shoot today. He has been depressed for over a month now over a real estate lawsuit that he started. He's already been putting me on the back burner because of this lawsuit and gives me zero attention, acts like I'm an added stressor in his life. So I'm already fed up with the mopey attitude. He starts going off about how he's not in the mood to take pics today, and that it's hard for him to smile, how drained and unhappy he feels over the house. I literally exploded. With everything that's happened, I couldn't take it anymore. I told him I've never met such a literal man-child in my life. For him to break down over a lawsuit he started. He's not fit to ever be the man, the sole provider of a family, to face real troubles of life. He's never had any real issues in his life. He is literally a man-child. I told him he never acknowledged how insane it is that I went and got surgery just for him to find me more attractive. He never recognized the care and sacrifice I made for him. I did take ownership for letting this relationship drag out as far as an engagement, after he showed me time after time how unfit he is to be a life partner. It is my fault. I ignored the red flags, and I kept having hope he would change one day. Maybe if I brought him a baby, he would start to appreciate me more. Maybe seeing me as a mother, he would start to love me. I'm so glad it didn't last long enough to find out. We didn't make it to the photo shoot, obviously. He ended up driving me back home. Sadly, we wasted the poor photographer's time. His reaction throughout all of this was very minimal. So cold. He would look down and look sad, but it looked like he was pretending. He said he was sorry and he thought I deserved better than him. He said his emotional battery had run out. This was the end of it. I gave him the ring back and told him we're never speaking again. He was just going to keep moving the goalpost. OP was never going to be good enough for him. Glad she got out. The ex should remain single since no one is going to fit his standards. He just wants someone to mold. This is based off the plastic surgery requirement and how it didn't make him happy. Also, does he not understand how people carry weight differently? He probably wanted OP to be like the wives of those successful men. Do this next. Tap here on your screen to come see our new podcast playlist, where you'll find thousands of hours of the best stories you've ever heard. Or tap the one on the right. That episode is specifically just for you, based on other videos you've enjoyed the most.